Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar presented by NASEO's Rural Energy Task Force. We're just going to give it another minute or so for everybody to log on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We've got about 30 people on the line so far, so let's go ahead and get started and get to these presentations. Thank you for joining this webinar presented by NASEO's Rural Energy Task Force. Today, we're going to be focusing on success stories in rural energy efficiency, with a real focus on how to enhance housing for low-income residents of rural communities. This market's been a really difficult one for states to access since there's a lot lower access to financing for residents. The populations aren't as dense, which makes it more difficult to do scaled efficiency projects. And a lot of times they're served by electric service providers like municipals or co-ops that aren't as used to doing big programs like that. But it's also a really important market to support. I don't want to steal too much of our presenter's thunder, but work by Mary Shoemaker at ACEEE shows that rural low-income residents spend nearly 3 times more of their income on energy than the national average. So it's a real area for states to provide financial support to their poorest residents, reduce the energy load, and also support utilities at the same time. So I'll introduce our speakers now. We have 3 great speakers lined up for today. First is going to be Mary Shoemaker, who's a senior research analyst who's been with the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy since 2014. Mary's responsible for a mix of research, analysis, and outreach on energy efficiency opportunities around the US. She's also a member of ACEEE's state policy team, where she conducts research and technical assistance on state energy efficiency policies and programs. Mary also leads ACEEE's work on energy efficiency in rural communities and equity in energy efficiency workforce development. So after Mary, we'll have Amanda Rains from the Washington State Department of Commerce. She works with their energy programs and communities unit, and she's the senior program manager and evaluation manager. In this role, Amanda manages the unit sections administering the low-income weatherization assistance program, the Weatherization Plus Health Program, and also the Low-Income Home Rehabilitation Revolving Loan Program. That's going to be the focus of her talk today. Amanda's worked with low-income weatherization for 5 years now with the Department of Commerce and over 13 years in total with different state and federal programs. Also, currently Amanda serves as the regional representative on the National Association of State Community Service Programs Board of Directors. And then finally, we have Peter Schneider, who's a senior consultant with the Vermont Energy Investment Corporation. And he runs their mobile home replacement program, which installs high performance net zero energy modular homes around the state of Vermont and provides a low cost housing option with low energy demand for their residents. So after the 3 presentations, we'll have time for Q&A. Everybody's been put on mute, but when it comes time for Q&A, You can type questions into GoToWebinar. You can also raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature, and that'll indicate to me you have a question. Or finally, you can email me at dtucker@naseo.org. So when we get to the questions, just feel free to send them my way, and we can get them to the presenters. So without further discussion, I will pass things over to Mary for the first presentation.
Hi, everyone. Just confirming you can see my slides only?
Yeah, slides only, we can hear you, so all set.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Shoemaker from ACEEE. Today, I'm going to talk to you a bit about energy efficiency as a tool for enhancing rural prosperity. Just to give a little bit of background on ACEEE, we are a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., and we've been around for about 40 years now. Our focus is really conducting research on energy efficiency policies, programs, technologies, investments, and behaviors. I am on our state policy team, as Dylan mentioned, and I lead our work in rural communities. Over the past 5 years, we've really expanded our focus on equity and energy efficiency program delivery, making sure that the people who stand to benefit most from energy efficiency are actually able to access these programs. And the rural work is a direct outcome of that mission. So our rural work has 3 prongs. The first is conducting research. The second is convening utilities, policymakers, nonprofits, and others who are working in this space. And the third is providing direct technical assistance to these partners on the ground. This is an outline of what I'll be sharing today. First, I'm going to define the problem by talking about energy burdens, which Dylan touched on as well. Then I will explore the role of energy efficiency in alleviating energy burdens. And then I will offer a few case studies of state energy office policies and programs that have overcome these challenges and successfully delivered energy efficiency in rural areas. So you might be wondering, why is it important to address energy efficiency in rural communities? Well, I think it really boils down to equity and economic development. Energy burdens are a concept that connect to both equity and economic development. And you can calculate an energy burden by dividing a household's annual energy costs by their annual household income. So if you have as an example, if you have a high energy costs but a low income, then your energy burden will likely be high. A variety of drivers determine a household's energy burden, like the physical structure of a home or the income level of its residents. It's also important to consider that energy burdens, high energy burdens in particular, impact people's lives in several ways. For one, they can result in unnecessarily high utility bills. They can also lead to unsafe living conditions or make a home less comfortable. I say all this really to drive home that energy burdens are not just an energy issue, but a quality of life issue. ACEEE's research has found that rural energy burdens are higher on average than metropolitan energy burdens. We found an average rural energy burden of 4.4% across the country and 3.1% in metropolitan areas. We also found that energy burdens are higher for specific rural demographics like low-income households and manufactured housing residents, which you can see in this right bar graph in orange. In the map on the left, you can see that the median rural energy burden varies a lot by region. So I'd encourage you to take a look at the report if you want to dig a little bit deeper into regional variations, particularly by these demographic groups. So you might be wondering, what can we do about these energy efficiency burdens, or these energy burdens, excuse me. Energy efficiency is obviously a key strategy that can alleviate energy burdens in the long term. We found that you can use energy efficiency to alleviate up to 25% of an energy burden, or save a household up to $400 per year. Efficiency also generates additional benefits such as improving public health, creating local jobs that can't be outsourced, and increasing the comfort of people's buildings. Just think how much more comfortable it is to spend your time in a well-sealed building with a consistent temperature, especially in the dog days of summer. So in 2018, a nonprofit based in Maine called the Island Institute did a report called Bridging the Rural Energy Efficiency Gap. In that report, they interviewed stakeholders in the northern New England states as well as Alaska, and they identified 3 different categories of barriers to energy efficiency in rural communities: geographic, financial, and awareness and action. These categories aligned very well with ACEE's own research, so I thought I would use the Island Institute's framing to describe these barriers. The first and perhaps most intuitive is geographic barriers. Rural areas are geographically isolated, they have a lower population density, and they have a lack of energy efficiency contractors. Second, rural communities face financial barriers. The upfront cost of efficiency improvements is often prohibitive, especially for households with low incomes. These households can lack access to credit, or they might often be averse to taking on debt, which can both make financing difficult. The last category of barriers that I'll highlight is awareness and access. Rural residents often lack access to traditional marketing channels, especially if they don't have broadband. Or they might lack a familiarity with efficiency programs and might be skeptical about them, and therefore less likely to participate in them. So now I think it's important to make this actionable. State energy offices and governor's offices have a few different options for improving rural energy affordability, and I will highlight 4. The first is to offer energy efficiency programs for rural residents, businesses, farms, and institutions. I'm sure many of you are already doing this, but just to provide an example, the Florida Energy Office offers a number of efficiency programs for rural customers and agricultural producers. For now, I'll highlight 2 of their programs. The Small Community Efficient Lighting Grant Program offers grants for local governments in small towns to upgrade their lighting, both indoor and outdoor, in community-oriented facilities like libraries, museums, and community centers. The second program I'll highlight in Florida is the Florida Renewable Energy Demonstration Program, also known as FRED. This program provides free energy evaluations for farmers and will offer up to 80% in grant reimbursements to implement recommended efficiency and renewable energy improvements like lighting, water pumps, solar, and biomass. The Energy Office has noted that a lot of farmers are really excited and interested in renewable energy, but they make a point of recommending to those farmers that they first pursue energy efficiency so that they can pay off the cost of those renewable energy installations more quickly. Apologies, there's an ambulance passing by outside, so there's some background noise. The second recommendation I would offer is to enact supportive state policies. Through the Conservation Improvement Program in Minnesota, the state requires municipal, cooperative, and investor-owned utilities to meet energy savings and energy efficiency spending targets. While this policy was originally enacted through legislation, utilities must submit their energy savings plans for approval to the Minnesota Department of Commerce. In recent history, Minnesota munis and co-ops have met or almost met their annual energy savings targets, which goes to show that it's possible for small rural utilities to meet energy savings targets. The third recommendation I'll offer is to help co-ops and munis start their own efficiency programs. One example of this, it can be seen in Iowa. The Iowa Economic Development Authority released in 2016 an energy plan that targeted support for rural and underserved community members. The agency then developed a 2-year pilot program, which they delivered jointly with the Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities. Now, through this program, the Iowa Economic Development Agency or Authority funded a regional energy services specialist to coordinate the muni's efficiency and renewable energy programming. The fourth and final recommendation that I'll offer is to include rural energy efficiency goals in state energy plans. This could either involve creating rural energy focused plans that are standalone documents or incorporating rural focused goals into your broader state energy plan. As an example, last year, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy released an agriculture and rural communities energy roadmap that identified efficiency and clean energy opportunities for these stakeholders. This included a baseline assessment of the state's current offerings in this space, and then it also included a review of policies and programs outside of Michigan that the state could consider itself. I think it's also important to note that if you develop a state energy plan or a rural energy plan unto itself, that you allocate the resources to actually implement the plan and follow up on it to translate those goals into tangible savings for your rural residents. So my biggest takeaway for you is that it is possible to bridge the rural efficiency gap, and it's necessary that we work together to support these communities, particularly in a time like this. State energy offices are uniquely positioned to provide technical assistance and sometimes financial support to homes, businesses, farms, institutions, and utilities. ACEEE has the resources to work with partners on the ground on rural energy efficiency, so I hope that you'll consider reaching out to me if I can be a resource to you in any way. My email address is on this slide, and this also includes links to a handful of our reports on this topic. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll hand it back to Dylan.
Great, thank you so much, Mary. And we'll be making Mary's slides available on NASEO's website in the next couple days, so those links will be available there. And we'll hold questions to the end, and I'll pass things over to Amanda for our next presentation.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amanda Rains with the Washington State Department of Commerce, and today I'll be talking about our Home Rehabilitation Loan Program. The Department of Commerce's mission is to strengthen communities. Commerce is the home of the State Energy Office and administers over 100 programs supporting local communities, businesses, cities, and county governments, as well as providing funding for services such as energy assistance, low-income weatherization, crime victim services, and homelessness prevention. In the Housing Improvement and Preservation section of the Energy Program in Communities unit, we administer 3 main programs and currently operate several pilot programs. Commerce has administered the Low-Income Weatherization Program for over 40 years. The Weatherization Plus Health Program, which provides additional measures to improve the health outcomes of its residents, was created in 2015 after the expansion of services in the state legislation. Today we'll be talking about our third and newest program, the Home Rehabilitation Loan Program. So in 2017, the Washington State Community Action Partnership and their members were successful in requesting new legislation to address the substantial number of clients being deferred from weatherization because of the condition of their home. During this process, the advocates shared that 50% of income-eligible rural households were not receiving low-income weatherization services because their homes were considered substandard. In the low-income weatherization program, homes have to be deferred if the program staff believe that energy efficiency measures being installed won't be protected. A simple example of this would be it not being fiscally responsible for an agency to install attic insulation when the roof is leaking. Advocates during this time argued that the home rehabilitation combined with energy efficiency upgrades through the low-income weatherization program will help people stay in their homes longer, help stabilize neighborhoods, improve local school attendance, and improve the health and safety of the living environment of those people that are served. The Low-Income Home Rehabilitation Revolving Loan Program was launched in October 2018 and provides homeowners an opportunity to receive up to $40,000 in a deferred loan to improve the health, safety, and durability of their home. So some of the program goals that were identified during the design of the program was really, like I just said, to reach those clients that are getting deferred from the low-income weatherization program. It also helps us address Washington's affordable housing problem by allowing people to stay in their homes longer. It provides access to resources for low-income households. We know many low-income families can't qualify for conventional loans. And then, as I said before, it improves the health, safety, and durability, as well as increases the energy efficiency of the homes of those who participate. So the funding for this program comes from the state capital budget. It has been funded at $5 million each biennium over the last 2 biennia. So we have about $10 million in the fund right now. It is a revolving loan fund. And so the idea is that if the legislators put in enough money now, which the advocates estimated needing about $100 million in the fund, it would be self-sustaining into the future and continue to serve rural families for a lot longer than just the 10 years that they advocated $10 million funding for each year. For the eligibility of this program, households have to be under 200% of the federal poverty level, and it's adjusted for family size. That's the same income requirement for the DOE weatherization program. Homeowners must live in their home, so it can't be a rental. The homes must be in a HUD non-entitlement area, which basically means rural. And then services are prioritized to seniors, people with disabilities, families with children 5 years old and younger, and military veterans. So as shown, the maximum loan amount is $40,000, but we can only loan the difference between any liens on the home and 80% of the tax assessed value of the home. The state has to be either in the first or second position of any lien holders, so the loan is secured by the homeowner's equity in their home. The legislation allows agencies to include a client administrative fee to cover costs such as title insurance, title reports, and some staff costs. And then each year we're required to update the interest rate, and it's based on the prior year's consumer price index. So in 2020, it's 2.3% interest. And that is really just to help the program continue to have enough admin funding to keep this program going into the future. And then loan repayment can be deferred until time of sale or transfer of the home. So for most projects, the work has to be prioritized because the loan won't cover everything that needs to be done. The agencies work with the homeowner to determine what that scope of work will be. Because this program is administered by the same staff as the low-income weatherization program, the main focus is on getting those houses in good enough condition so that they can receive weatherization services. But participants in this program do not have to go into the low-income weatherization program. Some of the other things that can be covered under this program are some health and safety things such as foundational or structural improvements to the home, rot removal, things like that. Repair or replacement of major housing systems would be electrical, plumbing, heating, and roofs. We can do some energy related improvements such as crawl space excavation, electrical wiring. So these are just some of the major work areas agencies have been doing so far. Other eligible activities include improvements to homes to become handicap accessible, lead-based paint abatement or remediation, vermiculite and asbestos abatement, seismic retrofits, radon mitigation, and pest removal and prevention. So as discussed earlier, in order to participate in the program, the home must be in a HUD-defined non-entitlement area. Their definition is for cities and towns to have a population of less than 50,000, and counties have to have a population of less than 200,000. The counties blacked out on the map are the counties who are deemed entitled areas and therefore not eligible to participate in this program. And then within some of the counties that are eligible, they do have some non-eligible cities or towns. And then Commerce just works closely with those agencies to make sure they know what communities they cannot serve. So some of the program marketing we've done so far are really, like I said, we've been focused on those weatherization deferrals. We've done flyers posted on our agency website as well as the local agencies doing the work, and then asked low-income service providers to spread them word. This year, we'd like to reach out and see if some utilities would be willing to put some of our information in their bills. We want to do some public service announcements and then work with building and safety code enforcement and contractors to also spread the word when they run into households who may qualify. So as far as current results, what we're finding is most of the clients are coming through the weatherization program as deferrals. And most of the repairs that have been done have mainly been roofs, and we've had some septic systems, foundation issues, things like that. And the loans have ranged from $11,000 to $40,000. So some of the challenges that we've experienced so far with this program is that we're finding it takes quite a bit of time for agencies to stand up a new program, especially a loan program where maybe they don't have staff that have ever worked in a program that is loan-based before. We're finding that the 7% client admin fee is not enough to cover the program operating costs. Some agencies are having to use other program funds to cover their staffing costs. Many homeowners do not have enough equity in their home. As I shared earlier, we have to base it off the tax assessed value, which can be quite a bit lower than what an appraisal would show the house is worth. And then also we have had some applicants that live on tribal land, and we're not able to put liens on their home because the land is often owned by the federal government and not the homeowner. So Commerce is currently identifying legislative priorities for the next biennium. Commerce has asked agencies to collect data on homeowners applying for the program, and this should help us identify barriers to access as well as document how much time staff spends on each of these projects. This will help us create a data-driven request for additional capital funding and for operating budget dollars to support the program. So why might other states consider having a home rehabilitation loan program? We are finding that it is decreasing our weatherization deferrals. It helps keep homes in good conditions and where people don't have to move out of their homes and pay for rent that maybe they couldn't afford these days. It helps invest in and stabilize our communities and neighborhoods. And it also spurs the economy through contractor job creation and sale of materials. So that is all I have for you today. My contact information is on this last slide, and I would be happy to share our program guidelines, any information that I have that helped the advocates propose this program to our legislators. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Amanda.
Sure.
Again, we'll be holding questions till the end, but feel free to type any in the question box to me if you have questions for Amanda or Mary so far. And now I'll pass things over to Peter Schneider from VEIC for our final presentation. And Peter, I think you're still on mute.
Excellent. Thank you, Dylan. I'll thank you again for the invitation. Great segue from Amanda's talk. I'm going to be talking about homes that we really can't weatherize and need to be replaced, and specifically talking about mobile and manufactured homes that are on a steel chassis, and what we've done in Vermont over the last about 7 years to work with homeowners and park owners to help replace these homes. So specifically with the zero energy modular product. So I do work for VEIC, a nonprofit. We run the state's energy efficiency utility. We provide, rebates, workforce development, financing, technical advice to all sorts of partners, builders, developers, manufacturers, other utilities in Vermont. And we also work outside the state as well under VEIC and actually implement this same zero energy modular program. So just quickly, I'm going to just talk about what a zero energy modular home is, the development of our pop-up factory model to get these homes built near areas of high housing demand, getting Vermonters into these homes, how we pull together the pieces to make that happen, and then some examples of projects. So I'll just quickly start with some definitions here. A mobile home is something that was built prior to 1976, prior to any type of code oversight. In 1976, HUD developed the Manufactured Housing Code, which would represent a manufactured home. They changed sort of how those homes that reside on steel chassis, steel trailers, how those are termed. And so everything built since 1976 is considered a manufactured home. And then finally, a modular home is something that meets everyone's local building and energy codes. It doesn't fall under the HUD preemptive code that manufactured homes fall under. So I'm going to be talking about how we're replacing these manufactured and mobile homes with modular homes. So the catalyst for this whole initiative was Tropical Storm Irene that came through Vermont about 8 years ago and was really a wake-up call in regards to how vulnerable a lot of our Vermont residents are, particularly those that are living in floodways, as you can see here, but also folks that are living in homes that are not built to today's standards and maybe beyond their useful life. And this is just an example of the type of communities that we're working in. We've got 250 mobile home parks around the state, which comprise of about 7,000 lots. We have another 15,000 or so manufactured and mobile homes on private land outside of these parks. So that's about 10%, give or take, of families in Vermont are living in mobile and manufactured homes. So we really wanted to focus on how we could serve these homeowners better and these communities better by dealing with homes like this that are beyond their useful life and really need to be replaced. So we looked at the standards currently for manufactured homes under HUD, and you can see here our state's code, and I'll just reference one highlighted characteristic is air leakage. And you can see our standard in Vermont for every home built is a 3, whereas the HUD manufactured home code doesn't even have a standard. And then their Energy Star version, their air leakage baseline is almost twice what our state's code is. That is the bare minimum that somebody building a home in the field or in a modular factory could meet. So we decided that we were going to offer a home that had this higher standard that at least met our state's code, but that could be delivered and set on these same sites where manufactured homes existed. So we came up with a very simple prescriptive program that our manufacturing partners could meet. It included better insulation levels and air tightness, better windows and doors, balanced heat recovery ventilation, Energy Star lights and appliances. And then we also factored in not only indoor air quality measures to improve health indoors, but also water sense, which reduces water usage. And we put it all into you don't need to read this, but we just put it all into a one-page checklist, which is really simple for our builder partners to follow. And then we provide all of these services on the right, the technical advice, financial incentives, and site inspections to help verify that these builders are meeting our requirements. And it's third-party assurance to our buyers as well. So just to give you an idea of the energy savings of, here's a typical HUD manufactured home here, and this is modeled energy usage. And on the far right is, we looked at over 200 actual HUD homes in the Vermont and just found that we were using over 100 million BTUs per year. Our zero energy modular home without solar on the roof was using 1/5 of the energy. And if you put solar on the roof, we were almost eliminating energy usage. So a real opportunity to significantly reduce not only consumption on an annual basis, but our peak loads as well that these homes were experiencing. So not to get too deep into the numbers, but the main number here is your typical new manufactured home. You're looking at about $1,155 a month. And that's lot rent and average energy costs on a monthly basis here that you can see, and some financing terms that aren't as great because it's very hard to get really good financing terms for manufactured homes on leased lots. So we started with this. This is sort of like our baseline, and some of our concerns, like this isn't a bad monthly payment, but some of our concerns were the energy costs. If energy costs were to increase, that $250 could increase, comfort, durability, indoor air quality, asset value over time. Many manufactured homes, and if you sort of look at the data, they depreciate over time. So kind of like driving a new car off a lot. And we wanted to try to counter those with this zero energy modular product. And I'll just bring you to the sort of the final number here, which is, while this home is almost twice as expensive, by bringing some incentives for our solar and our energy efficiency and bringing some affordable housing dollars to the table, with some better financing terms that a modular home can get that a manufactured home can't, we were able to get our total monthly housing costs, whether it was cost parity or it's a little bit better, we're able to match what we were doing or even improve upon the manufactured housing. And the real benefit I see is we have developed a home that's more energy efficient, not as much risk if energy costs were to increase, more comfortable, better indoor air quality, and certainly a more durable home over the lifetime of the home. What we're trying to deliver is a 100-year home instead of a 30-year or 40-year home. So here's an example of one of our first 10 homes that we delivered under a pilot. It really fits nicely, almost seamlessly, into a mobile home park setting or on a private lot. But you can see some of the clear differences. We've got our heat pump for all heating and cooling needs, even in the Vermont climate with no backup heating. We've got our solar system here. These walls are 10-inch thick instead of your standard 2x4 wall or even 2x6 wall. So this was really well accepted in the community. To get these homes delivered, we created a pop-up factory model, and this link will be included when I share the slides, but we basically wrote the manual on how you could create even an existing warehouse, a small modular factory where you could deliver these homes to meet the demand early on in the initiative. And here's one of the homes delivered. To give you an idea, right into a mobile home park, we've got a foundation right behind the crane there. And that home is complete. All the solar is installed, the HVAC is in place, all the kitchen appliances, washer, dryer are all included. So it's really a turnkey product. Here you can see the solar going on. Sometimes the solar modules are delivered separately, but all the racking and the inverters are in place. And significant savings over time. So this is just over the first 6 years of our program. We rolled out just about 100 homes. We'll deliver, another 50 or 60 homes this year to give you an idea. But you can see, not only are we creating jobs with this new factory, but we have the CO2 reductions, the energy cost savings, and the homes delivered to low-income Vermonters. Just a little testimonial there. Winter outages can be pretty stressful for folks when their home can significantly drop in temperature over a 2-hour period, the typical power outage. But these homes really coast over that period of time. High quality materials, you can see really nice level of finish, really comfortable, well-designed spaces. The great indoor air quality, as I mentioned. And so I'll just highlight this one case study. This is McKnight Lane. This was a 14-unit mobile home park. Over time, the homes had just become unlivable. Weatherization was no longer an issue. So right down here, this little red dot is the location of it. It's walkable to community resources close to town. And we delivered 14 units. They were duplexes, but these are zero energy modulars with 6,000 watts of solar on each home. These are all low income rental units. So we converted basically a abandoned mobile home park into a real sustainable, low income, affordable rental community. We incorporated battery storage into each of the units, which really worked well. We've had several power outages since. These homes, as you can see, sort of with this data, the battery covers the load during that period of time of a typical outage. And the real benefit here is our utility partner, Green Mountain Power. And there's a link here where you can look at all the products they offer. But they offer a residential battery storage program where, in this case, they covered the cost of the battery and the installation. And as long as that battery is online and they have access to it, they use it to manage their peak loads throughout the year. And while they benefit from peak load management, the obviously our tenants benefit from the backup power. So that's 12 minutes. I'll leave it there and send it back to Dylan, but I appreciate everybody's time and joining this call.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. I really appreciate all three of your presentations and taking the time to present to the NASEO's members. There's a couple questions that have come in. I just want to remind everybody the different ways to ask questions. There is a raise hand feature on your GoToWebinar panel, so you can just indicate to me that you have a question, and I'll unmute your line so you can ask it, or you can type it in the question box. We have a couple questions that have come in the question box already, so I'll start with those. The first one is for Amanda. We have a question asking if Washington State, if there's a tax deferral or a tax abatement program that would prevent beneficiaries of the loan program from facing higher property taxes as a result of all the home improvements.
No, not that I'm aware of, but that is a really great suggestion. Thank you.
No problem. That was from Ed Carley at NASEO, so he may have some more ideas on how to make that happen. And then Peter, the next question is for you. How long did it take to stand up the pop-up factory? And has there been any work to make the modular homes have EV chargers or EV readiness as part of the homes?
Great. Yeah, so this factory, this actually resembles the factory that currently is still under production. The factory was an existing old UPS warehouse, and honestly, the builder was a developer and general contractor who was doing these high performance homes, but stick built in the field, and it was a perfect opportunity to sort of had a willing partner who leased this vacant warehouse and turned around, was building houses within a month. Really simple. These are just stick built per bay. And it ended up to be a really great way to start this out. It was very low overhead initially with the way the factory was started up. And you'll see 5 bays here, and those 5 bays are still operating, and they roll out a house every about, one house every 4 weeks. So, a little bit more than a house per week when you look at the 5 bays on top of each other. Although they do some 2-box homes as well, where there are shorter, wider lots, for example. But yeah, it can be a pretty quick turnaround with this type of building. And you can also partner with existing modular builders. We're doing that as well. We have a number of great modular builders in New England that we can lean on who are also delivering these same homes, and that's from existing factories. So, we're seeing high performance homes coming from, other factories as well that have been around for, several decades. And the second question, Dylan?
The second question was about EV readiness and whether there's been any work to make the homes ready for EV charging as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely a goal. We have not deployed EV charging on a house as part of sort of a package. We do have a few houses that did take advantage of installing level 2 chargers after the fact. We have always sized our electrical panels, for instance, to accommodate that. And we have had, Green Mountain Power, who I highlighted earlier with regards to their residential battery program. They actually have a program. If you buy a new EV, you can get a free level 2 charger again, if you give them access to that, so they can utilize that charger to manage peak load again. So free level 2 charger installed, you know, for allowing the electric utility to have access to that. And I believe both of our ZEM homeowners took advantage of that.
Great, thank you, Peter. And I have another question that's come in from you from North Carolina. Just wondering if traditional manufactured home builders like Clayton or other builder groups ever build those ZEM homes.
We haven't seen that. We started initially, this goes back right after Tropical Storm Irene, that we did reach out to our northeastern manufactured housing partners, and we weren't able to get any of them to build beyond what is called the HUD Energy Star standard. And that Energy Star standard is honestly significantly below the Energy Star standard for modular homes or stick-built homes. So that Energy Star standard, just to give you a sense, doesn't meet our state's bare minimum energy code for homes. So that just wasn't an option. We're working in a number of different areas in the country now with this same program and have communicated with other manufactured home builders, and that seems to be their stance across the community. There have been some pilot projects where there's been one house here or there that have been built to a higher standard, but nothing that I've seen that's commercially available, and that's the reason that we have pursued the modular approach. But that said, we continue to try to work with our manufactured home partners, and I think inevitably they'll be going in this direction, electrifying their homes, and providing more of these durability and energy efficiency measures that I think the market's going to demand.
Great, thank you, Peter. I don't see any more questions from the audience, but feel free to type any in or raise your hand. I have a question for the presenters. I guess any, but all of you can answer. I was just, there's been discussion on the Rural Energy Task Force about difficulties reaching rural markets with these efficiency programs and really getting the word out and getting high adoption in the program. So I was just wondering if there was any strategy or like stakeholder group you worked with that was particularly effective in helping advance the knowledge of the program and maybe uptake in the areas you were working with.
Mary.
Oh, good. Thanks, Mary.
Sure. I believe that there's a joint action agency in Minnesota called the Southern Minnesota Municipal Power Authority, and they administer efficiency programs on behalf of their member munis. I believe they have a residential program that they work with hardware stores to promote. So I guess more of a midstream approach. I'll dig back into the report to confirm though.
Yeah, and this is Peter. For a lot of what we're doing is in the affordable housing sector. So we've been really fortunate to have the support and ultimately guidance from our affordable housing partners. So our Housing and Conservation Board that sort of manages all affordable housing projects in the state and the funding. They've been a critical partner in regards to connecting us with mobile home park owners and nonprofits that are getting income qualified home buyers into homes. And also on the rental side, it's a real affordable approach for the state to add affordable units to their state's portfolio of affordable housing by filling up vacant mobile home park lots around the state. And we're really fortunate in Vermont, and honestly in the Northeast in general, where we have a lot of parks that are cooperatively owned by the residents or owned by nonprofits. So everybody who lives there has leases on their land in perpetuity, and allows for us to get that really good competitive financing for their home purchases. So yeah, the affordable housing agents have been great. They've been a conduit to a lot of our projects. In fact, most of them.
Dylan, just to provide one more example that just came to mind, Efficiency Maine serves a lot of small retailers that don't have a digital sales platform, and so they have a retail lighting program through which they print instant rebate coupons and distribute them to those rural stores, and they also post in-store signs. So customers can tear off those coupons and then present them to the cashier to receive a reduced price Energy Star LED bulb.
Great, thanks for those details. So I've had two other questions come into the chat, so I'll go through those. I guess maybe this would probably be best for Mary. We had one participant ask if there's been any programs focused on renters and ways to make energy efficiency gains in rental properties. I know that the other two programs seem more focused on home ownership, but we just had a question about how to help out renters as well.
Sure. The first example that comes to mind are tariffed on-bill programs. Let's see, the one example that a lot of people talk about is Ouachita Electric. That's Ouachata, I believe. They offer tariffed on-bill programs for residents in their community. That's in Arkansas. And tariffed on-bill programs are structured so that renters can participate, and as well as people without much creditworthiness.
Great, thank you, Mary. Any other thoughts on that from Amanda or Peter?
This is Peter. I know, honestly, associated with some of the stimulus money that's been coming to Vermont, that there's a statewide initiative right now to incorporate energy efficiency measures and indoor air quality improvements into rental housing. So I know that we've been rolling out a number of programs, and those would be accessible at efficiencyvermont.com if folks want to look at those. But there have been a number of strategies applied to reach out and make significant investments in the rental housing through landlords. Again, there are a bunch of requirements associated with that funding for landlords to gain access to it, but I think it's been widely adopted, and I would just reference our website to take a look at that and not get into any more details on it.
Great, thank you, Peter. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think that the McKnight Lane redevelopment project, those units were put up for rent rather than for sale.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken.
Yeah, you're exactly right. About a third of the zero energy modular homes that we have delivered have been for income qualified rental housing. And what we've done is redeveloped entire parks like McKnight Lane, or we have parks that we've filled up all the vacant lots, and the nonprofit local housing trust owns those and they rent them. And yeah, we're even doing, right now we have farm labor housing that we're doing. So on dairy farms where we're subsidizing to get old, trailers beyond their useful life out, and getting new homes in for farm labor housing, and taking advantage of a number of resources there, including the USDA's rural development financing. And we're also doing some transitional housing. So we're filling up vacant mobile home park lots housing trusts that provide services to families experiencing homelessness. We've been placing units in parks for that as well. Again, this all leverages affordable housing dollars to help fill up these vacant lots, which is better for the park owners. You know, that's their main revenue stream, is the rent on those lots, but putting those lots to good use. And honestly, it's a facelift for these neighborhoods when they have abandoned homes or vacant lots. It can be a real blight and significantly impact the community and adoption of other new home buyers of that community. So that's been a really great avenue, is working with our affordable housing partners to fill up these vacant lots and utilize them for all those different purposes.
Great, thank you, Peter. And we have one more question that's come in through the chat box. Also on the modular homes, we have somebody wondering if they were specifically designed and built for cold climates in Vermont, or if it's more of a nationally available heat pump.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate that heat pumps have historically always worked in the cooling dominated climates. We just in the last 10 years have had heat pumps that really work well in the very cold climates, in the heating dominated climates. These homes are applicable anywhere. We might reduce or increase the insulation levels a bit depending on the region in which we're setting them. But we have this program running for the last few years in Delaware, for instance. We have a very almost identical home, a little bit different specifications with regards to the HVAC and some of the insulation values, but overall a very similar package. And honestly, we'd apply that same methodology to Arizona or Alaska. So yeah, it's a great product that I think really could serve any of the states and regions across the country. And you know, we're working on that. So happy to talk with anyone who has ideas.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. Well, there's no other questions that I'm seeing, and we're approaching the hour. So I just want to take another minute to stop and thank all the presenters for all the work they put in to put together these presentations and to share their projects with the NASEO members. So thanks again, everybody. We'll be posting the presentations as well as a recording of today's session onto the NASEO events page in the next few days. So if you want any more information, just check back there and feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. So thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.